Hello, I'm Gordon from Camera Labs, and I'm reporting from a very sunny Cologne in Germany, where once again the photographic industry has gathered for the Photokina show. This is something that takes place traditionally every 2 years, and it's where the companies show off all of their new products, accessories, lenses, cameras, absolutely everything. However, this year, 2018, is a bittersweet show. Bitter because, well, next year Photokina goes to a new annual cycle. Until now, it's been every 2 years, a really big event, and the general feeling is that maybe it'll turn from the international spectacle that it is today into more of a regional German show, but well, time will tell. However, it's a sweet show this year in 2018 because even though there's a couple of less halls than normal, there is still a lot of new products released here, or at least demonstrated here. We've got in particular new full frame mirrorless cameras from Canon, Nikon, and also now Panasonic and Sigma in their new alliance with Leica. So in this video I'm going to show you around the show, give you the highlights of all the latest products. It's going to be a long one, but stay with me and you'll find out about all of the new cameras coming to shops near you very soon. Canon stand is of course dominated by the EOS R, their new full frame mirrorless camera. Here it is with the enormously large but also enormously spectacular 28-70mm f2 lens. Yes, it's huge, but no one else has got anything like it. And to be honest, I think that's the thing that I'm still most excited about on the EOS R system. It's those lenses, in particular this and the 50mm f1.2. What I found, a wild Mark Goldstein from Photography Blog in the field shooting macro with Canon's new RF 35mm f1.8 macro lens. He has that on the new EOS R full frame mirrorless camera. And there I am with the 35mm f1.8 macro. Thanks for that, Mark. This is Canon's SX70 HS super zoom. The update to the eternally popular SX60 HS, now with Digicate for 4K video, but showing the same 65 times 21 to 13 65mm optical zoom range. That sounds huge, although bear in mind that Nikon now outguns them with the P1000 at 125 times, and I have a review of that at cameralabs.com. Two 400mm f2.8 primes before me. On the left, the older Mark II version. Oh, that is a heavy lens. And on the right, the new Mark III version, which is so much lighter. That's roughly 1 kilogram lighter. You can really feel that difference, especially if you're going to be shooting sports all day with that. Nice one, Canon. That's a good update. At the Nikon stand, most of the attention was of course focused on the new Z6 and Z7 full frame mirrorless cameras. Yes, I did it, I called it the Nikon Z, not the Nikon Z or the Nikon Z. I'm from Europe and this is a European trade show. If you want more information on these cameras, check out my first looks video review of it, or of course head over to cameralabs.com for more detail. Here's Nikon's P1000. Check out the size of that zoom, 125 times optical zoom. It's the biggest in the world, but it is quite a hefty camera. Still, 125 times, it takes you to 3000mm, which is enough to even crop the poles on the moon. And you can find out more about this camera in our review at cameralabs.com. Over on the Ricoh stand, we've got the new GR III, which looks a bit like the GR II from the outside, but inside there's a new 24 megapixel APS-C sensor that's actually stabilized within the body. And Ricoh tells us that it is more resistant to dust, which could be a problem on the GR II. And that sensor also has embedded phase detect autofocus. Sounds like a pretty good upgrade when it's available in early 2019. At the Fujifilm stand, there was a new GFX medium format body, the GFX 50R. This is got the same sensor as the older 50S, but they've packed it into a way smaller body. Look at the size of this. There's a couple of losses. You don't get the dedicated ISO dial. The screen does angle, but it doesn't flip out to the side like the old model. But you also don't have that huge bulge on the back like you did with the 50S. And look at that, best of all, in the corner, an electronic viewfinder. Maybe not a hybrid optical electronic like you get on the X Pro, but still for me this is a way more compelling camera to shoot with than the original GFX. And if 50 megapixels isn't enough for you, then how about the full 100? This is Fuji Films GFX 100. It's a pre-production model, but look at that sensor, medium format, 100 megapixels, and stabilized within the body. I think that's a first for medium format. I can't wait to test it. This is Fujifilm's new SQ20. It's the third Instax camera to use their most recent square format, and their second to have a digital sensor, which means there's a screen on the back which you can use for composing, reviewing, and also editing. New to the SQ20 is the ability to capture 15-second video clips from which you can grab frames, and there's a bunch of new effects and collages as well. I think it's a really nice update to the SQ10, and I've got a more detailed preview of that at Camera Labs. And look at that, available in beige or a rather smart black. And look, the Instax SQ6 now available in a Taylor Swift edition. Thanks, Taylor. I'm over at the Zhiyun stand. You may pronounce it as Zhiyun. Either way, this company has got some pretty innovative gimbals, and here's their latest one, the Webill Lab. This is designed for mirrorless cameras or small DSLRs with a load of about 3 kilograms. It has follow focus. It's a mechanical motor that's turning the focus on that camera there. That's a GH5 that's mounted. The stand, actually, the grip at the bottom, which you can use as like a, a stand on a table, can be detached and put on the top for a different hand-holding position. And in quite a neat trick, you can actually also mount it on a monopod and then attach it to a special belt that kind of effectively works as a Steadicam. So we're just going to show you this. In the meantime, this gimbal should be available around sort of November 2018 time frame for about $600-700, which I reckon is pretty competitive for its feature set. So as you can see, attached to the belt, and you're ready to follow the bride along the aisle or whatever else you want to do when you're filming. If you're after something more heavy duty, there's the new Crane 3 Lab. It holds 4.5 kilograms. Again, due out around the November time frame. I don't have a price for it yet, but it does have a mechanical coupling for focusing and for zooming as well, which is quite a nice feature. Over on the Sigma stand, there's obviously a lot of excitement over the new alliance with Leica and Panasonic, and Sigma has promised a body and some lenses in 2019. No other details, but there are 5 new lenses here that I'd like to show you. On the left, and second from the left, we have 2 new art lenses, a 28mm f1.4, and next to that a 40mm f1.4, both of those available in Canon, Nikon, Sigma and native Sony mounts without an adapter. Next to them is a new 70-200mm f2.8. Now this is part of the sports line. It's not an art lens, although it is apparently art in quality. And interestingly, it also contains some magnesium manufactured in Sigma's new magnesium plant in Japan. Apparently that's quite unusual. Also featured within this beast here, a new 60-600mm. This is a 10 times zoom. It's a new focal range for Sigma. Of course, they had the very popular 50-500mm, but this is extending out further. Again, it contains their own magnesium. And notice both that and the 70-200mm have got Arcus Swiss feet. That's a really nice feature. And last but not least, this little tiny fella is a 56mm f1.4 Sony E-mount lens, so it's designed for their APS-C bodies. This is a really lightweight lens, which of course translates into that classic portrait focal length. It's a really nice one to have for the E-mount system. One of the most interesting lenses at the show was the Laowa 24mm Extreme Macro. Here it is, a waterproof tube that's actually poking into a fish tank here. Yes, you can do underwater macro photography with this lens. It will do 2:1 reproduction. I'll see if I can show you this on the screen. But the thing that makes this really unique is that not only will it focus extremely close at about 2 centimeters to achieve that reproduction, but it will also focus out to infinity. So imagine that. You could go from a wide angle shot, landscape shot at infinity, and then focus pull all the way down to a 2:1 magnification. Now that kind of capability used to cost, well, about $10,000, but Laowa is now managing to deliver this for about $1,500. So it's not an insignificant investment, but it is way cheaper than anything that came before it. And look, it's a pointy stick that goes underwater. Tamron was showing the G2 version of their 15 to 30mm f2.8. This is one of our favourite lenses at cameralabs.com, and they've improved the coatings on it. The autofocus is faster, and if you get the Canon version, there is also a filter holder in the back, so that's nice. We also have the new 17 to 35mm f2.8 to 4, which Thomas has already reviewed again at cameralabs.com, another high performance lens. And then this isn't brand new, but it is still massively popular. This is Tamron's first full frame mirrorless lens for the Sony FE mount. It is the 28 to 75mm f2.8 constant aperture. This is a really compelling general purpose lens, and I'm really glad that Tamron has gone for a completely native design for this. It is not an adapted DSLR lens. It is unique to this mount. Over on the DJI stand, they were showing the Mavic 2 drone. We're available in two versions. The Mavic 2 Zoom with a 2x optical zoom, but a small sensor. And my favourite, the Mavic 2 Pro, which only has a fixed focal length, but a much larger 1-inch sensor. Now this is going to give you way better quality, lower noise, high dynamic range, and it's the first time you've been able to get a 1-inch sensor in a drone of this size. Previously, you'd need to go for something like this, at least from DJI. This is a Phantom, obviously a considerably larger proposition. If you're interested in a review of the Mavic 2 drones, I have those at cameralabs.com. And here's the Ronin S, DJI's latest gimbal, with follow focus on the Panasonic bodies, hopefully coming soon to Sony as well. And even after a couple of strong coffees, it is totally ironing out the trademark lane wobbles. This is a serious bit of kit. The biggest news of the show was, of course, the new alliance between Panasonic, Sigma and Leica, and this is the fruit of Panasonic's side of it, which is a new full-frame mirrorless camera sharing the Leica L mount. Now, I've got a full first looks video about this product, so if you are interested in it, do check that out. But in the meantime, this is an exciting new move from Panasonic, and there will also be new body and lenses from Sigma, and of course Leica gains two new pals to play with. All you Micro Four Thirds owners, including myself, have no need to fear though. Panasonic remains committed to the format and indeed showed a rather exciting new zoom, a 10 to 25mm, that's 20 to 50 equivalent, with a constant f1.7 aperture. Like many things, it's behind a glass case at Photokina, but this is still an exciting lens and proves that Panasonic remains committed to the format, as indeed, of course, does Olympus. Olympus may not have launched any new products at Photokina, but it still had one of the biggest and most colourful stands at the show. I mean, who else would have illuminated swings? And if this is where the kids are hanging out, well, perhaps it is the future. At their press conference, they remained committed to Micro Four Thirds, stated that they were not going to be going full frame. They're sticking with the mobility message, and lest we forget, they still have the best stabilization built into the bodies in the industry, and the rumors do suggest that there is going to be a new product coming in early 2019. Personally speaking, I would just love to see an EM5 Mark III with the EM1 Mark II sensor. I think that would be a fantastic camera. Meanwhile, over at Sony, there was nothing new launched at the show, so it gave the company an opportunity to reiterate what it's achieved so far in terms of mirrorless, particularly full frame. Look at all these lenses for starters. The newest of those lenses is the G Master 24mm f1.4, a surprisingly lightweight lens that I've managed to shoot with already, and you can see my sample images for that at cameralabs.com. It's also about the software. You already know that Sony's got great eye detection, but for humans. But now, look at what it's working on. Eye detection for animals. These are some of Philip Bloom's cats. Well, I don't think they're all of his cats, but it's his video, so thanks for letting me refilm this in the Sony booth, Philip. But I've also seen it demonstrated on lions, owls. So it's birds, it's animals, it's all types of wildlife. And it might seem a bit amusing at first, but actually it's something that people have been asking for, and I think it's going to be a popular feature. Not Not brand new, but still worth talking about, is the latest Rx100 Mark 6, which packs a 24 to 200mm zoom into a body that's barely larger than its predecessors. I took this camera away on a 6-week trip over summer, and it proved very, very effective as a travel camera. You can see my article about that at cameralabs.com, along with my full final review. Last but not least is a new line of tough SD memory cards. These are as fast as Sony's fastest normal memory cards, but look at this, you can bend them, they don't snap. On the other side, it's missing the ribs and the fins, which could snap off lesser SD cards. It's also waterproof, dustproof. So you may be asking yourself, what is the price premium for one of these over a normal SD card of the same speed? And it's actually only around 10%. In fact, Sony also reckons that they're tougher than XQD. So if you were avoiding SD cameras, or you were looking at maybe XQD for extra toughness, well, maybe look again at SD. I'm certainly excited about using this new card. Well, that's it for another Photokina. In what shape or form it will return in 2019, nobody knows. But one thing's for certain, the 2018 show was actually a pretty good one, a high to end on, with a lot of exciting products. And in fact, a lot of them I've already previewed or even reviewed over at cameralabs.com. So if you want to find out more about them, head on over there. And as always, if you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe. So all that remains to be said is Prost, and I'll see you at the next video. Cheers. Good stuff.